Go ahead, gentlemen and ladies.
Okay, so why don't we do the sidewalk one? I mean, I think we don't need the whole presentation. We just need a before and after kind of. That would be so ideal if we had those two slides, but we're familiar with it, and let's talk about it and get down to it.
Are they here?
Are they here for 140?
We
No,
are
I think that's
here.
issue,
We're
Bruce.
62, 64 Reed.
Okay, it's
So we're going
140
with
West
the
we
round
can
then.
start. We can start with us because Bruce never have enough time for me. How are you,
It's
Bruce?
140 West Broadway here. I think I saw the young lady. Okay, then I guess we'll switch it around. I'll get the presentation up.
I'm sorry, Vladimir. I didn't even know it was you. It's just that I have to leave and there's, yeah, that's right.
They can
they're
start
not here.
talking while I get this up.
Listen, while Lucy's getting that up and they haven't started, all I want to say is that when the presenter comes, because I probably won't be here then, there was a good solution, basically turning the stones over and not putting curbs in. That's all I want to say. Okay.
We're here.
Thank you, Bruce. We can certainly discuss that later. That'd be great.
Right.
Okay, are we starting with 62, 64 Reed?
It's on the screen,
Yes,
so yes.
please.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Aran. I'm the founder of ODA New York. We're an architectural firm here in the city. Been presenting to you guys in the past a few times, and I'm very excited to present 62, 64 Reed Street. Jackie's here with us. She's going to start, and then I'm going to take it from there. Jackie? Jackie, we can't hear you. Chris, are you there?
Yeah, we can hear. Maybe Jackie, we can't hear you.
You have to unmute yourself.
Not yet.
Hi, can you hear me?
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Okay, thank you. I
There
don't know
we
what
go.
was going on there. I apologize. So, hello, everyone. Thank you for hearing this application tonight. My name is Jackie Prudu-Vallon. I am the preservation consultant on this project. I'm here with Eran Chen of ODA Architects. This project is 62 to 64 Reed Street, two separate store and loft buildings from the mid-19th century, which are being combined at the interior into one residential building. These buildings are located on the north side of Reed between Broadway and Church. Next slide, please. Okay. So 62 Reed is an Italianate style building designed by Isaac Duckworth in 1860, and 64 Reed is also Italianate, built in 1856, architect unknown. Both buildings had fire escapes installed at their front facades in 1917 as a result of the labor protection laws that were being instituted in that decade. Here are the buildings in the 1940s tax photo on the left, and a drawing of the entire side of this side of Reed Street from 1864 on your right. Next slide, please. The work we're asking you to look at tonight is the removal of a fire escape at the front of 62, the extension of the fire escape at number 64, the construction of a rooftop addition that goes across both buildings, and the removal of the fire shutters at the rear of both buildings. The fire escape at number 64 on the left, which you can see in the center photo, the existing conditions. The fire escape at 64 appears to be original from 1970. That's the one we're looking to keep and to extend to the roof. The fire escape on number 62 on the right looks like it was a later replacement. There's also staff level permit pending at LPC for restorative front facade work and rear facade work, including restoring the storefronts and replacing windows. You'll see glimpses of that in this presentation, but we're not going to go into those things in detail because that's not part of the landmark's public hearing scope of work. Next slide, please. And these are just a couple of slides with detailed photos of each facade. Next slide, please. And some more detailed photos of windows and cornice conditions. Next slide, please. So here are the rear facades and the fire shutters we are applying to remove. The existing shutters are in very poor condition. They are pack rusting. Some have been coated with the same mastic that's been used on both facades. Both of these facades are absolutely caked in a mastic material, which we are also going to be removing. Next slide, please. So as you can see from some of these detailed photos on the bottom, these fire shutters were never properly maintained. Our proposal is to remove the shutters, but to leave their pintles installed in the brick so that there's still a signature of where the shutters had been. Next slide, please. And these are just some detailed photos of the existing conditions of the storefronts. Again, this is going to be handled at staff level by Landmarks. Next slide, please. And this is the existing rooftop looking north and south, east and west. Next slide. And now just talking about context. Next slide, please. And we can skip this as well. This is just, a sample of what other storefronts look like in the district, which we're of course, looking to for guidance in how to restore these storefronts. Next slide. So thank you. So as noted earlier, we're proposing to extend the fire escape at number 64 to the roof so that it basically hooks over the cornice. And here are examples within the district of other Italianate style store and loft buildings where fire escapes have similarly been extended to go onto the roof. Next slide, please. And to show you what the roofscape looks like within this block, here's an annotated photo that I think shows you really effectively where there are other rooftop additions surrounding 62 to 64 Reed. You'll note there are two-story additions on either side of these buildings. So the buildings that we're working on are highlighted in yellow. And if you look to left and right of that, you'll see two-story additions on either side of these two subject buildings. And you'll also note the large rooftop additions that are pretty much directly across the street on the south side of Reed, which are highlighted in purple and orange. Next slide, please. And here are photos of the additions that are present just to the north of these buildings. And as I mentioned just before, across the street on the south side of Reed Street, looking at pictures B and C. Next slide, please. And let's see. I think I had, actually, can you, all right, I think okay, I was going to go through some more. I think this is actually the previous iteration of our presentation because we also have a presentation where we're showing some approved rooftop additions elsewhere in the Tribeca Historic District. So since we don't have images of them right here, I just want to refresh your memory on those because I'm sure you as a committee will remember buildings like the large additions that are on top of 22 Erickson Place, 114 to 116 Hudson, and on 62 Beach Street. And of course, there's also the Stone Cloud approved at 78 to 80 Leonard Street and Tribeca East. Let's see. And oh, and just across the street from our subject building, there's also a large addition on top of 62 Reed Street, which is visible a little bit from Broadway, which is going to be relevant when you're also considering the visibility of our proposed addition. And with that, I would like to hand it over to Aran Chen. Thank you very much.
Aran, you're muted.
You're on mute, Rob.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Jackie. Very glad to be here. I want to tell you the backstory, and I'm going to have my associate Chris take you through all the details. But we've taken, as a company, on this project is very intimate and very personal. We've been involved in adaptive reuse projects in Tribeca for many years. But when the client called me, I went to walk the buildings, and the story is very interesting. The two buildings were built separately for different uses, but right after World War II, about 1955, actually, a couple bought the two buildings together and created a manufacturing for time cards machines. You know, the one thing that you use to tap when you come in the morning. And the couple lived at the top floor, but they combined the two buildings as one factory with connections between the floors on the second floor and on the fourth floor. Some of the floors are leveled. I think the second floor is leveled, but the rest of them are not exactly leveled. However, it's functioned as one factory for many years. The couple lived at the last floor. Both of them passed, unfortunately. And when I was walking the building the first time, their stuff was still there. I mean, it was just walking into history. At their living room on the table, there were papers from the 1960s, 1970s. And you know, who does time cards manufacturing these days? I mean, I was shocked that it was still going. But in any case, our intention is to keep those two buildings combined and convert them into condo buildings. We're actually going to be one apartment per floor. So there's going to be a retail and an entrance at the ground floor with a back apartment at the ground floor. And then one apartment per floor, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And then to reconstruct the roof and build a floor and 1/3 addition at the top that is going to be invisible addition, as we're going to demonstrate and show you, which would conclude in 6 apartments altogether. So what we're going to ask your kind of approval today is for the removal of the fire escape, the addition on the roof, and I think the back treatment of the brick and the shutters. Chris?
Excellent. I'll take it from here. Thank you so much, everybody. Maybe we can just go to the next slide, but here we'll be talking about the scope and removal of the elements. Again, we've been talking about this. Okay, here is just a little narrative just to kind of piggyback what Iran was talking about as the two buildings were working together over the course of time. So we're treating kind of the two buildings as even though they're independent, but we're trying to treat them. They were used over time for the same use. Next slide, please. Here are just, this is kind of the first glimpse of the building section, existing versus proposed. You can see the existing addition, the existing building as is to the left-hand side. And you can see actually our proposal on the right-hand side. And you can see the one, the 2-story addition on the right-hand side. Next slide, please. Again, here's just a kind of a combined, a combined section that shows where the roof will be removed within the new proposal. Obviously, we're talking about the new rooftop bulkhead. Again, the cornice, which will be done at a staff level. The windows, again, which will be done at staff level. Storefront, these components will be done at staff level. But this is an overall kind of picture of the proposed addition with the roof. You can see the red line here. Indicating the roof to be removed. Next slide.
Just to point out, Chris, if you don't mind,
Sure.
This is the floor addition clearly applied to the required setback by zoning and the rear setback, etc. And the floor above it is 1/3 of the floor below, so it acts as basically as a mezzanine and not a full floor.
Correct. Technically, we're 1.5 floors. Excellent. Next slide, please. Great. This is just kind of the new addition, kind of within the overall context of the block. And there is an enlarged elevation. If you want to go to the next slide, where maybe we can see a little bit more detail. Next, please. Okay, now we're getting a little bit closer to our adjacent buildings.
I want to say something about the way that we've designed the addition. Although the two buildings are combined, have been combined for a while, clearly they have different facades and they were originally built separately. It was important to us to design the addition on the roof as if it was two separate buildings that are combined, to maintain the character of each one separately while combining them into one. Although none of this will be visible from the street, the essence of the buildings as two that were combined will remain in the contemporary edition at the top.
Excellent. Next slide. This is a kind of an interesting diagram of the block itself between Reed and Duane Street. We found that there's like this really kind of elegant rear courtyard that all the buildings are sharing. And we just wanted to highlight that as part of the kind of the neighborhood that actually is in this kind of back in between all these buildings that generates this really kind of neighborhood feeling. You know, that's it's a really great space in there that everyone's kind of communicating with each other. It's so this is just kind of understanding that we're putting terraces in the rear of the building to communicate with our neighbors and to have this communication. Next slide, please. So here you can kind of see the building now at its you know, in the front elevation. This is the existing to the left, to the proposed on the right. Again, just focusing on the removal of the fire escapes, you can see on the right hand side that the proposed that the fire escapes have been removed. And to the left-hand side on 64, that the extension of the fire escapes now will lead up to the you know, to the new addition. This extension of the fire escapes would not impede on the cornice, or we've seen some samples in Soho where some of these fire escapes are actually crashed through the cornice. We want to respect the existing cornice and use the fire escapes to go around it to not disturb the historical presence. Also, okay, we can talk about the rear facade next, but again, the storefront, the windows, all these things will be done with the LPC staff level. In the rear of the building, obviously, we saw some photos before. It's not in good shape. The rear facade, the shutters themselves. In some places, we had to put a strap on them to prevent them from falling. They're just not in very good condition, as Jackie was mentioning earlier. So we're proposing you know, to eliminate the shutters, and obviously we want to redo windows, we want to redo the brick, we want to restore the back facade as well as we can at the same time. Next slide, please. And here are just kind of just some of the floor plans of the building that we're proposing. Some of this may not matter, but you can see how we're kind of generating some nice apartments. Again, Ron was talking about the ground floor apartment on the ground floor. There's a small retail component facing the street, and the plan to the right is basically the typical floor from 2 to 5. If you can go down to the next floor, please. Next slide. These are the same floor plans. Again, this is just 3 and 4. Next slide, please. And to the right-hand side, now we're getting up to the new addition. The left is the typical floor. To the right-hand side is now the first floor of our new addition. Again, there's some nice terraces in the back that accompany the adjacent buildings and part of the kind of the existing fabric of these neighborhoods. Again, it's a nice, you know, nice apartment. We don't have to go through every little thing here, but if you want to go to the next slide, we can see the upper floor, which is technically the mezzanine level. So there's a nice stair leading us up. There's skylights that give you great views to the World Trade Center. Again, terraces to enjoy the adjacent context and neighborhood for you to view. Next slide, please. Again, this is just kind of a little color study of the storefront that we're proposing. Obviously, you've seen the previous slides. Right now, they're just filled with roll-up gates, and we're not taken care of for a long time. So within our overall project, we want to revitalize the storefront back to its original conditions, which we'll do with the LPC staff. Next slide. And again, these are just some details of the storefront. We have to get into every little component, but obviously we're bringing back the original historic components of the original facades based on our research. Next slide, please. Again, same thing here. These are just different details, profiles, and these will relate back to some of the images that we showed much earlier in the presentation on trying to find the historical, the historical profiles of the windows and trying to, blend our, our storefront in with the, with the neighborhood context. Next slide, please. Again, this is just kind of honing in on the extension of our extended fire escapes to the left-hand side and the removal of the right-hand side. These are the two components that we're asking from yourself to review today. So this clearly shows there's no impact on the cornice onto the left-hand side, and obviously removing the fire escapes to the right-hand side, we feel will bring out obviously the original building out to its original presence. Next slide, please. Okay, so we're going to just jump into our rooftop addition. This should, I just want to take you through the proposed design, visibility studies, and our rooftop addition materials.
Let me just start here, Chris. This
Sure.
is Ron again. The shape of the addition was shaped based on three factors. The first factor is the visibility studies that we've done. Essentially, we've created a mold by which we can create an addition that is invisible. The second element is, as I said before, the consistent elements that connect them, while the distinction between them, and you can see by the physical attributes of the roof, how each one stands on its own, and kind of frame that additional top. And the third element is that we're essentially using basically only one material, which is the metal roofing that starts at the level of the cornice and kind of slopes back and cover the entire addition from all sides as one monolithic sort of a metal penthouse, if you will, which is very common in Tribeca in the neighborhood.
Excellent. Next slide, please. So here we're just kind of we're going to jump into our visibility study. So here we're just outlining and kind of extracting, the mass as an object and then putting those into our visibility study. So obviously this is our penthouse addition. We indicated it red, and now you're seeing the visibility studies on how we prove for the building to be invisible. Next slide, please. Actually, I have. Would you mind if I shared my? It seems that maybe there's a couple. Can I share mine here? Thank you. Screen one. Okay. Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just can't see anybody now. So first, what we had to do is actually we had to build a mock-up of the addition, which we just completed very recently, and we just got in time to finish the mock-up and get to the presentation. But you can see these are just some general pictures that we were able to pick up. We indicated which direction we're taking these from the looking east and looking west. Again, these are just more construction photos of the mock-up showing kind of the inclined surface and the rear facades. This is a view looking west to your right and looking east to your left. Again, these are both looking north from our roof. So this is the neighborhood in the back here. That's pretty elegant. So this is basically our strategy and mapping of the neighborhood and finding our visibility points. We actually have to confess is that we did find, after we built the mock-up, a small little piece that will be visible, and we'll get to that towards the end. But through our initial studies and all the points that we tracked and through the neighborhood, through our modeling and through our investigations, were 99% of our studies were accurate, and all the addition was not visible. So I just want to go through these points with you to show you how we came up with our visibility points. Here's our first point on West Broadway and Reed. You can see to the right, to the left, there was no indication of the mock-up. You don't see any of the yellow, the orange netting. You can see that we rendered the, the penthouse in the middle here to basically test our picture to the model and to the actual mock-up. So we were able to test all these images aligned to confirm that the build was not visible.
Excuse me, this is
Sure.
Roger. Are you saying that one of these is actually taken since the mock-up has been built?
Yes, the
Yes.
pictures on the right-hand side are taken with the mock-up built.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And this is just walking up to the building closer, up on Reed Street, so about mid-block right now, and there's still no indication of the mock-up. Number 3, again, we got no visibility studies, no visible portion of the mock-up. Again, this is just getting up to Reed Street in between Church and Broadway, almost mid-block, but there's still no visible penthouse. Again, this is directly standing in front of Reed with no visible portions. Number 6, same, it's the same. Number 7. Number 8. Number 9. This is from Duane Street, looking back the other way, because there's this firehouse is a lower, obviously it's a lower building. So we were very cautious on this visibility vantage point as well. And this is what we found after. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me again, it's Roger. So if you go back
Please, Roger,
one,
go ahead. Sure.
if you go back one, now the image on the right is taken at a slightly different angle from the image on the left. Now the firehouse.
Okay, the
You got a
firehouse
firehouse.
image.
Right. So
In
if
both
you
case,
took,
in both case, Roger, if you look at the illustration at the middle, you'll see how far our addition is from the edge of the facade. I mean, it's so far, it's not even close to visibility.
right, but you were saying that on one of them, which you get to show us, there is visibility, but you can see
Not
that you were closer. If we go and look, if we go and stand in that spot in front of the firehouse, we won't see the mock-up.
No, not at all. The one
No.
that we discovered is actually the last one. So after we built the mock-up, we walked the site and we discovered that if you go south on Broadway at the corner between Duane and Reed, go to it, Chris,
Sure.
which is number 8. The
Sorry, no, it's
number 10. You
number
see that?
10.
It's about, if you go from the corner about 20 feet to the south, which we didn't calculate originally when we did the studies in 3D. There's one spot right here. And you see on the right side where the cursor is, you see a piece of the netting appears right above the brick wall, which we didn't take into account. It's seen, what you see actually is a slight piece of the bulkhead where some of our mechanical systems are screened. And, it's the minor visibility that we didn't know that there's going to be an angle like this, but we're glad we caught it. We walked with the Landmark staff. We showed everybody what that looks like, and they felt it's a sort of a minor, minimally visibility through the side wall or the side facade that is enabled by the gap between the two, the tall building and the building next door to it.
Right, and just to, I'm not sure we have a picture here, but there's actually a building across the street with a very similar situation where the adjacent building is underbuilt, and you have a clear view of a much bigger view of these penthouse additions. We realized, like Iran said, after the fact. I would also like to jump back to the firehouse view because we actually, if you look at my cursor, let me see over here, we actually were trying to find it, and we there's a plaza in front of this firehouse, and we actually walked all the way back to this open plaza and was looking actually with Jackie and with the LPC staff, and we were trying to find it, and we were looking, and we didn't. So, the one that we were concerned about actually, when we actually did the walk, we found that it was completely invisible. It was we couldn't see it from any point from Duane Street. So again, we did come across our Vantage Point 10. Again, we were lucky that we built it and we saw that. And like Iran mentioned, we think it's very minimal, and we think it will make it blend kind of in with the context as much as we can. And just to kind of conclude, again, we can come back for questions, but just to conclude, and these are just kind of our design renderings of how we perceive the penthouse with this metal cladded 1.5 story addition with skylights, with these big open glazing areas for light and views. And the extension of the fire escapes to the left-hand side, the removal of the fire escapes on the right-hand side. And let's see if we can see the back, the rear facade. Again, we're proposing to remove all the shutters, and obviously you can see the penthouse addition as well from the front and the back.
Just to point out about the shutters, only a few of them actually remain. Most of them are not there at all. And through the years, I guess the brick was dilapidating. They've covered it with tar. We're going to remove all of the layers of tar, repoint the brick, replace where needed, and we'll even recreate some of the hinges or the hangers of those historical shutters on the right to indicate what was there originally without putting the shutters back.
And that is our presentation. Does,
Can you just go one slide back, please, for a second?
Certainly.
Thank you. Oh, no, that's forward again. I'm sorry. I just want to see what the rear rooftop extension looks like there. Not that it's necessarily relevant. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, Bruce, do you want to go first? You're not going to be able to see this next presentation, so why don't you go first here and
Is the next one for this project or the West Broadway?
no, West Broadway, and you said you had to
Okay.
leave, so you go.
Right. I actually just texted and said I'm going to be late to the next one because I just want to start the beginning of the next presentation since we spent a lot of time together. This is what I want to say. I can vouch for the fact that block of Reed Street, by and large, is still undergoing, renovation. And I can also attest that these buildings are in bad shape. They're beautiful buildings. They're in bad shape. I'm unclear what the program is here for the actual restoration of the street front facade. I'm sure that the upper floors will be dealt with, in terms of almost pure restoration. I don't have a handle on what is being done to the ground floor on the street. I was involved in infill new construction designed by Annabelle Seldorf directly across the street. It was very contextual, but having been on that block a lot, I can also attest to the fact that there are rather enormous rooftop extensions, some of them probably having been built before landmarking in that area. It's quite something. I've Also, to be completely transparent, I've worked with Iran before, and Iran, I'm sorry about my introductory remarks. I just, it's been a very pressured day, and it will be tonight. So I mean, Iran does great work. It's, you don't need me to vouchsafe that. Believe it or not, having seen, you know, I'm not thrilled about a two-story extension and a mezzanine level. I don't think anymore. I don't think that qualifies anymore as a dispensation in terms of height as a technical matter. But my only objection, and you may laugh because I think with the amount of visibility that's there, it's a sliver. Not that we've ever let something slide because there was a lower building adjacent, but the fact is, it's a tiny little triangle, so it's almost like the rest of it is irrelevant. We took a position a few years ago that even if it's a rear courtyard, we don't want original shutters removed and destroyed. I don't know if LPC will agree with us. That's my only sticking point. To me, they should be, if they're in bad shape, removed, restored, and pinned back. Other than that, I think I trust that it's going to be better than it is now, that's for sure, because the building is crumbling. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. Just to point out about the shutters, I think there are only 3 or 4 that are left hanging. One of them is left hanging in on a limb with just one hinge.
Chris, can you put up a picture of the existing rear facade from your presentation, please? Or whoever is controlling this is not Chris, I guess. Who controls these slides?
I got it.
Okay.
Chris has it now.
Okay, great.
Okay, hold on, I'm getting there.
But I don't think there was a picture of the rear facade as it exists.
Yeah, he had one.
I think it's back in the beginning here. Nope, sorry.
No, they have a picture.
No, I saw it. I saw it, Chris.
No,
I thought
no,
I
they have
saw it. Hold on, here.
Right there.
Up, go back.
Hold on, I got it. 1 second, it's coming.
Sorry.
There you go. This is it. On the left side, you see it. Shutters are gone. There are 2 shutters. If you look at the top floor on the right, there's, only that floor has, only that side of the building has the shutters. And I think that it's only the top 3 floors.
There's one half a shutter on the top floor of that floor. That's all I guess.
Some of them are broken, dilapidated.
Are these?
I mean, I'd love to keep them if we could.
Wait, don't I see shutters on the back of both these buildings? Am I retarded? Right. Yeah, every single shutter is there.
Yeah, we're saying they're all there except 2, right? Or 3.
I mean, what? You can't see my.
Are those shutters closed?
Yes.
So they're there.
Okay, so there's shutters. I don't get it. The West building, they're all closed, but there are shutters. Can we go back to the slide there?
Sorry, it's doing it automatically here. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you guys are right. I take it back. They're closed. Yeah.
Right, but the problem, like Iran was saying, you can see on the top right hand side, the one that's been open. We actually had to go in and actually like strap that one back because the brick inside and outside of this wall is really in bad shape, and we're very concerned even opening the shutters at the moment because the brick is literally falling out in most of these locations. So it's a very delicate situation.
So when you've got about 18 original windows with shutters and you've got 2 that aren't, I don't see that asking to take them all off is a historically appropriate suggestion.
Agreed. And one way or another, even if you're concerned about the brick, you'll either be concerned taking them off and leaving them off, or you'll be concerned taking them off and not putting them, but you're going to remove them one way or another. And I'm sure you can't leave the brick in the condition it is. So you can take them off with concern and care, restore them and put them back on the newly fixed brick, right? And you can tin them back if you want, leave them open.
Yeah.
But they're original fabric and they're beautiful. They're rare. That's
me-
all.
Right.
Anyway,
Can you zoom into
I'm
this?
liking the whole project. I'm sorry about the shutters, Go ahead, I'm
If we
sorry.
could restore them and keep them, it's one thing. I thought, Chris, can you zoom into this?
For me, it's a non-starter if you're not putting those shutters back, pinned back.
Sorry, it's not zooming on this thing here. Hold on.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jason. So, I mean, you need to restore them. Many, many people have restored these shutters over the years. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, even if you can't
Some are
restore it, you
truly
could just make
corroded
a new one.
beyond reason. You just replace it with.
So easy. It couldn't be an easier thing to do. I wanted to, I guess for me, one of the things I didn't so much like, even though I completely understand the presentation style, I didn't like the whole, this is being done at staff, so we're not even going to talk about it or look at it. And so the project has become kind of like a little bit fragmented for me. If you keep the picture up there, one thing I noticed is that your proposed windows are 1/1 in the back of the building. And I would definitely think, and I even see in the top right quarter, there's a 6/6 window there. So again, it's kind of another thing that kind of doesn't have to do with the addition, but for me, I don't think it's a good solution to make 1/1 windows in the back, and I think that you should consider making 6/6 or whatever you find is original there. Can you just speak on how you're handling that? Are you sure at staff level that's okay?
Yes, I think we've discussed, and actually, if you look at this picture to the left, you'll see a 1/1 double hung right to the left hand side, which was a building that was restored previous. So in a non-visible facade, we feel that we're actually we're making the building much better. We're restoring the facade, restoring everything, and again, if it's something that's I mean, we can definitely look into adding the divisions in the windows, but we assumed it would be proper for us to get this allowed by LPC for a 1/1.
But Jackie, what did LPC say about that? Jackie?
We
While
can't
Ja-
hear.
While
We
Jackie's
can't
working on
hear.
that.
I can't hear, but we have an approval already from LPC on the rear yard work to. We left the shutters, but we did for a window.
Okay.
Oh, there
I've
she is.
just been-
There she is.
I've just been unmuted. I don't know how I got muted again. I'm sorry. The answer to your question is under Landmark's rules, you can, because this is a non-visible rear facade, you can change the window configuration, even with a staff level permit, from the original configuration, which would be multi-light, to just 1/1. Since I was muted before and I couldn't figure out how to unmute myself, I would just like to revisit and give my own 2 cents about the shutters. These shutters, even if they were taken off the building, I've seen them in person. I really don't think they're salvageable on either building. On number 62, they're very badly pack rusted. And on number 64, they're pack rusted and covered in the same mastic that you have on the exteriors of these buildings. So getting that mastic off and then expecting to find salvageable shutters, which are at the same time rusted, I really don't think is reasonable. So, of course, it would be nice to keep them, but I really don't think it's feasible in this case. What were your other questions? I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'll respond to that. Again, I think, you're doing we want better for our landmark buildings in this district, and fire shutters are something that is the quintessential item. And in terms of how much it would cost a developer to just put in new fire shutters, pin them back on the existing pintles, and seeing that it is part of your C of A presentation, I can't see the goodness in developing a project that throws all of these shutters in the garbage. So I would have to vote against myself, this is just me, against the project for all its greatness at the top and non-visibility just because of our kind of not caring enough treatment of the rear of the facade.
Understood, and I
agree,
hear you.
I agree
Can
with
we
that,
just-
Jason. I
we
agree with
just
that,
go to the
Jason.
next
And I
slide?
think I agree with that, Jason. And I think that the other aspect here is that whether LPC can approve this at staff level or not, this is Community Board 1 Landmarks Committee. And so our values are somewhat different from the law, whether they follow us or not. We need to continue to reflect the values of Tribeca. And I agree with you entirely that it should be 6/6 and these should be restored or replaced, not just conveniently nodded away at staff level.
I mean, you guys brought up this whole point about this amazing little court in the middle of this block, which is, nice and big. Usually they're much more narrow. And, what can you do for your neighbors who I'm sure none of them are here because no one comes anymore to these meetings because they're virtual, would love to welcome a developer that wants to put this care into this amazing special place, which you yourselves noted. So I just want to kind of echo what Roger said again, like just because you say it's a staff level approval, we still want to say we want 6/6 windows in the back of our buildings when developers are going to redo the whole building. It's not some small co-op where one floor has got to change their windows. We see it all. We know exactly how these buildings operate. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to take a building and take every facade and treat it as special as it deserves to be treated. Okay, but anyway, I'm going to just end my comments with, thanks for taking the time to make that incredibly complex mock-up and showing us all the ways it's not visible. And I look forward to. I actually had one more question about the front of the building. What are you adding the fire escape extension as a means of egress? Somehow, is that required?
Yes.
So you have one stair in the building or two stairs in the building?
We have a single stair, and that's the second means of egress, and that's
Okay.
required by the Department of
Right. So I would
also
just.
have precedents, in that district where you extend it, because originally it was extended all the way up.
Well, let me say this about that, and this really may or may not be in our purview. I find it absolutely ludicrous to propose a safe passageway down whatever ladder anyone could propose to a 19th century fire escape. It's a death trap, and it shouldn't be considered a second means of egress. And I appreciate that if by law it's okay, and I think you treated it the right way, and I don't think you're doing anything disrespectful. We've had just 2 blocks away someone fall off of the exact same fire escape. It's a terrible idea. I hope it's all legal and everything, but it sounds very unsafe, and I'll leave it at that.
Jason, could I just ask if the applicant could explain the front, the restoration proposal for the front of the building? That hasn't been discussed.
I can speak to that. First off, we didn't go into detail here because, we're just trying to keep you guys focused on what we know the landmarks commissioners have to focus on. And believe me, it's hard to keep focus at a landmarks hearing as well. And, we know that your time is valuable, their time is valuable. So we're just trying to limit ourselves to what exactly has to be covered under a certificate of appropriateness by landmarks because it's work that is outside the rules of the Landmarks Commission, right? So, and
Facades?
no, what I'm saying is I'm just explaining why we didn't go into the details of facade restoration because it's going to be handled at staff level because it meets landmarks rules.
Roger and I have worked together for many, many years along with the whole board. Let's put it this way, and Roger, correct me if you disagree. Can you show us what interventions you are doing that isn't transparently restorative using the same materials and the same type of grout and the same colors? Only the exceptions and not what would obviously be a grade A restoration of existing fabric.
Right.
Is that okay, Roger?
Absolutely.
Jason?
What you got to remember, Jacqueline, we are volunteers, so we volunteer to care about our community. So we'll give you as much time as you need to look at the front restoration.
Okay. So it's the usual, stone facade work where you're going to be doing patching, cleaning of the facade, replacing the windows with new wood windows to match the historic configurations. So, making sure those details of, nicely profiled mullions and brick molds are there. At the storefronts, we don't have 100% of details yet of what we're doing at the storefront, because mainly we have to be able to peel off, all the accretions that have occurred there over time, that sheet metal that's there, to be able to see what is still existing of historic fabrics. Some of it you can see from the inside, but we won't really know exactly what's there until we take that stuff off. But the intention, and what we've already been in discussion with Landmark staff about, is putting back original wood, I should say replications of original wood storefronts.
I had a question. Do you have any photographic evidence of the building on the right's top floor windows? Because to me, that looks like an unusual kind of configuration. And I just wondered if, well, first of all, is there any photographic evidence from the original windows? You could say it may not be. There may not be.
Well, earlier in the presentation, we've got that, luckily, that drawing I
watercolor?
found. The drawing, the watercolor drawing that was done from 1864. So yes, you can see there. The reason why those windows are different where the fire escapes are is because when the fire escape went in, you had to put in windows that were fireproof and were basically acting as doors, so someone could open them up quickly and get out into the fire escape. So in the photos here, the windows that you can see that are on the right-hand side of each of the buildings, that is an elevator shaft on each building, and that's where you find the original windows that are left on these buildings. The other windows have been changed when the fire escapes went in.
What about that vertical mullion in the, are you going to match the window mullions and the configurations from the watercolor? Is that the plan?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
okay, so on like the left side, it's a 2/2, but it's like a square with a smaller piece on the top. Is that just roughly? I'm not, like, could you put up your existing and proposed again, unless anybody else wants to see this slide more?
If I can just chime in here, it seems that if you look at the existing elevation, it seems the windows in the right column in the 3 bays on both, these seem to be a little bit more older than the other ones, and we feel that these may be original, because there was hoists and elevators put there, so they were not accessible, and that's why some of these don't have access to that column. So we feel that the right, like I said, to the right hand side of each building, that column would be original. Let me go to my proposed.
Yeah, show us the proposed existing. Okay. Right. Okay.
Right. So we tried to, obviously, without having any historical resemblance of any of the original things there, we've obviously dug into the original tax lot photo that we've had and the original watercolor drawing to try to replicate this as best we could.
Well, only Bruce, me, and Roger spoke. We got a bunch of other people. Let's get other people's opinions and then close this thing out, I think.
Jason, I'd like to just focus in on the addition here, if you don't mind. I mean, that's part of what this is, part of the whole presentation as well. And being newer to the committee, I guess I'm deferring to some of the other members here, but one question I have is, with these slopes, what's being proposed for sort of the unfortunate event of ice sheeting off of these metal roofs?
It's a good point. Typically at the end of some other previous jobs that we've done, we've actually we've put like a metal a trim at the bottom, so we would avoid anything from running off. These right now, any of the if there's any runoff of snow or ice, right there is still the cornice in front of the proposed addition. But I think to your comment, I think that we could potentially add a like a metal angle at the edge of the plane to assist with any snow buildup or any ice buildup on the slope surfaces.
Well, let me add to this, Chris. The metal roofing, the standing seam metal roofing solution would come with those kind of little chip that go vertically and stops the ice sliding. That's
Okay, some
part of
ice
the product.
dogs.
Pardon?
Yeah, a few ice dogs.
Yes, ice dog. That's come part of the product. You don't see it in the drawing, but it's going to be there. To the question of collecting water and runoff, etc., we can consider in some places to have sort of gutters at the edges, although I don't think that's necessarily required at the places where the sloped roof is butting against the cornice. So, you know, we're definitely going to have it at the recessed area, but I don't think you need it for water runoff at the edge of the cornice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of some maybe other examples in the neighborhood or even around New York City. Just seems like the slope, you know, in a very hard downpour would be creating quite a substantial deluge at the ground level. So I don't know either what's required, but it seems like there may be some way you may want to look at some option to slow the water flow from 5 stories up to the ground, and certainly the ice situation. Who knows what's going to be happening with our weather going forward, but I've seen situations where ice has sheeted off and nearly killed people.
Absolutely, you're totally right.
Okay, my turn.
We could definitely look into you know, proposing like some kind of a trough or something at the edge to try to channel the water to this open courtyard. But agreed.
Well, and I just also the shutter dogs are there. That is an option. It needs to be specified. I don't know where landmarks comes in on a contemporary addition to a landmark building regarding that, but I would assume that somebody would want to take a look at that. The other application that I've seen would be to use even like a metal, some sort of a metal pole that goes across the top of all of those. Anyway, I'll let you design it, but I did want to bring that to everybody's attention. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good comment. Thank you.
Jason?
You go, Vicky, go.
Yes, your co-chair. Thank you for remembering. So Jerry, before I move on, yes, this is not only common sense, it's also a liability. So yes, deal with it, make sure that ice and rain, well, mostly ice and snow is not pounding on people on the ground floor. You know how to deal with it, but it's a liability issue. So I would deal with it if I were the architect. I have a question. The fire shutters at the back, now those are originally installed because the buildings weren't sprinklered, right?
Yes.
Ah, okay. So you are sprinklering a building.
Of course.
So basically, we're asking for the fire shutters to be reinstated, more as a historical reference and not a useful item or a required item to keep the fire from coming into the building, right?
Right. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, we wouldn't even ask you to, I mean, ideally you'd pin them back to the wall. This is done, I can't even tell you how many, so
Right,
many
it would look
projects do
like
that.
wood shutters. It would look like wood shutters, whether they're metal or not, they would just go back. It's a lovely addition.
Well,
It's a
it would look
lovely
like the
elevation.
1800s, which is
Yeah.
what we're trying to make the back look like, even though it's not, quote, under our jurisdiction.
Exactly. Everything is under our jurisdiction, just in the future. Here we are spending our time and half of it is like not your purview. It's a unpleasant thing to hear. I wouldn't recommend that next time when I'm in your shoes. So everything is our concern. We live here. Other people are impacted by this project.
I certainly did not mean to offend anyone. It's just that when you're presenting to the Landmarks Commission and they always tell us, you know, your presentation has to be identical. What you're presenting to the Landmarks Commission has to be
I know.
identical to what the
I
community
know.
board sees. And they don't want the staff level work presented to the commissioners. So
I
that's why we were trying to omit it here.
Unfortunately for
And it's
all of
approved
us New
already.
Yorkers. Unfortunately, another thing for the rest of us, and since we're here and we live here, then we're gonna make our purview what we want. And I don't care if they approved it, we still have the right to comment. And we would ask that this reference to a time when fire was a big issue and you know, protecting your home was a paramount. It would be lovely if you would please consider with the owner to add these and you know, hang back to a time when this really did matter. You can still have a fire and die, as we all know. It's a lovely thing to do. It would be really appreciated by just about everyone who will be looking at this, whether it's what is the word? You know, God, I forget. It's not just visual; it's functional. Thank you. About your rooftop, I think the front reminds me of a mansard roof reference, right? Aaron,
I don't know what it reminds you of, but
I
you
told you, a
you can say that.
mansard roof structure.
Okay.
It doesn't remind you of a French metal rooftop that has, you know, half of Paris like this?
Well, somewhat. I think the reference of a zinc roof, a standing seam zinc roof, throws you into Paris. I think there's a lot of example in Tribeca neighborhood where these were penthouses built sloped like that with metal roofs as well, which is more of an industrial expression rather than the French reference. But we, you know,
Right, I'm not so stuck on the French reference. I just used the word mansard to describe a
Yeah.
roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I actually think it's lovely. In fact, all I would ask as a citizen, knowing what great design office you are, make it a little more sexy rather than just bear down industrial look. It's a great opportunity you have here. And if it can look a little less industrial and a little more residential, I'm sure everyone eventually will appreciate it. Same goes for the rear facade. It's just a little too metally and industrial. While I understand the whole historical reference, just a little bit of humanity. Take advantage of the mansard roof. Like I said, not most of us don't get this opportunity very often. And otherwise, you've done a great job. Thank you very much.
What is the roof? How tall is the building? Would you call it? Is it like 90 feet, 85 feet, roughly? I'm not counting to the top of the.
It's about 75 feet high.
No,
roughly.
existing, I know is 75, but the proposed, just so I can mark it.
With the existing, we're actually a little bit combined. We're under 85 feet combined. So the addition is about 25 feet. We're 12 foot. So we're about 25 feet below that.
I'm sorry.
By the way, 85 feet.
What is the height of the top floor
85.
from the sidewalk? 85 feet, roughly. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
85 feet. It's also 85 feet is also the maximum height you can do under the current code with a timber structure. Otherwise,
Correct.
you have to replace the entire structure into a steel structure, and clearly that's not what we want to do.
Does anybody else have anything to say? I see Gerald spoke, Roger, you spoke, Vera, Susan.
I'll go with you
Susan,
and
go, Susan, go.
I'll go with you and Roger. It's I'm not wild about the design, if truth be told, but that's me. I have nothing more to say.
Vera, I also go with what you have all said. I too have to say I agree with Susan that though it is hidden, essentially the rooftop extension to me is I don't know, it reminds me of like a spaceship or something, but it would, but anyway, I'll just go with everybody else.
I agree. This is Chow. I agree with what Susan and Vera said.
See, Aaron, it's a little too austere. You're getting your first reaction. It's a residential neighborhood. And the reason I think intuitively I brought Mansard is because there's something humane about it and sexy and something we all flock to. So why can't we have something, equally sexy and humane in our own neighborhood?
First of all, I respect all of you guys. I want to tell you, just for the sake of conversation, I'm not only an architect, that my office is in Tribeca. We're on Franklin. My house is in Tribeca. I'm a neighbor of this community. Everything we do with love and passion. Everything we do, we think is because we think it's humane and beautiful. I'm not going to argue about taste. The composition of the sloped roof at the front, and maybe that's not the best depiction of it looking from above like this with the mechanical, etc., is broken into three separate planes that are interrupted by three terraces with skylights. I think the composition is, in my opinion, super beautiful and humane. It breaks the scale. It celebrates human scale with the terraces and the outdoor spaces. The backside would have built-in planters. I think having one material as opposed to many respects the historical fabric of the neighborhood at large, and these buildings in particular. The zinc material is gorgeous. It ages beautifully over time. So I respect everybody's opinion. I respectfully disagree. But, I'll invite you all to the opening party and we'll see what you think when it's done.
If I may intervene, we've been on this for an hour and almost 15 minutes. I don't think Aaron's chops need to be examined in terms of taste with his background and what he's produced. I think what we're needing to address, if you want to address the height in terms of the view corridor or historic fabric, but I think once we get into our aesthetics of what isn't part of the consideration versus Aaron's, we're going into the weeds. And I would propose that we, at this point, if everyone has spoken, craft a resolution. My suggestion would be, and by the way, I told everyone I'm going to be an hour late, but I committed to the next applicant making a statement up front, since the rest of the committee wasn't there at the time, and I feel obligated to, that we say that, what we've said, that we like it, we want, microscopic consideration made of the front restoration and the street facade, the storefront facade. I leave it up to you about the fire escape, how you want to deal with that. Obviously, they didn't want to lose sellable square footage with a secondary means of egress inside, which is what 99% of everyone does nowadays, especially since there are two buildings here. But that's the developer. I'm sure Aaron wasn't tasked with that. It was a solution that the developer wanted, and it's apparently legal. So that's my suggestion.
I would call the question.
Well, I'll second that, but then unless we need to before that figure out like what I'm going to write in the resolution in terms
Well,
of.
I think you've said most of it. I think, Jason. I mean,
Well, the thing is, I said actually I wouldn't
Roger.
vote in favor of it if we didn't get the shutters. So
All right, I mean, we all agree with that.
we all agree
Right.
with that, yes?
I thought so, yeah.
Okay, fine. So then we don't have a problem with the visibility. We don't have a general problem with the height. And because it's invisible, we don't really have anything to say about the design, which
Correct.
some of us think is good or not. But,
Right.
and then what about the 6/6 windows in the back? How do we just weave that in? Is that also a non-starter, or is it just?
Well, I think more than that, Jason, it was 6/6 on the front, which is now going 1/1, right?
Oh, I don't think
No,
so.
that's not
Two
true.
over
No,
two.
no, that's
Two
not.
over
Oh,
two on the
I'm sorry.
front.
Right.
And I think that I'm not sure personally, in my experience, and it's very deep, that you're springing the top floor's meeting rail from the right point. But unless you have historical evidence or better pictures, it's hard to tell. So I think in the front they're doing okay with the windows. So what was the answer to trying to push the hand of doing 6/6 in the rear?
At the rear?
We agree.
Okay, great. So that's it. So we really like it generally, but to get our wholehearted approval, we want to see these two items, these two historical features to be preserved, even though they're on the whatever word you want to put on it, non-contributing facade, rear facade, invisible facade. I think Iran, if you have in your place where you live in Tribeca, if you saw the rear courts of these buildings, you'd probably prefer 6/6 or something that was original, or the shutters, because this is a great original kind of area in the world. So I think that's it.
No, again, guys, I respect what you said. I'm gonna look into the 6/6 at the back. I don't think it's a price issue. So that I have no principal conflict or disagreement with you guys. As it relates to shutters, I've been through this many times. We've done many buildings in Tribeca where the shutters were still intact. They were functional. They could be recovered and restored, and we kept them and celebrate them. If these guys need to go to the garbage because there's nothing we can do to restore them, and now we have to remanufacture and spend money and energy in order to remanufacture newly created shutters that are going to be decorative elements at the back to imitate the past, I personally don't think that's the right approach. Respectfully to the whole notion of the historical context, but I'm not even sure it's a money issue at all. But listen, I respect what you guys are saying, and it's an interesting conversation to have. As for the windows, I tend to agree. I'm going to check. I don't think that it's necessarily a budget element at all, and I'm not sure that it's a problem for us to do the 6/6.
So you'll ask your developer, you'll tell him we were kind of bent out of shape about the shutters, and maybe just to make it a better resolution that we vote on, could you get back to our office and say, listen, the guy's somewhat interested in that, or no way, no how? Because if he's interested,
I'm not personally crazy about that idea. So
okay, but you guys powwow about it, because if you're not crazy about it, but the developer says I like it, whatever, you could get back to us so that we don't have to write a resolution that says we don't want to approve the whole project because we're got to stick up our butt about the sorry,
Ooh.
about the shutters in the back. Just anything that could make it a nicer resolution. It's to your benefit, not, that's all.
But Jason, I think we need to do the resolution because
Yes,
we've faced this before.
let's
We
write
need
the
to do the
resolution.
resolution as
Okay,
we
okay.
believe, and if the applicant changes their mind, we can delete that.
Yeah, so
What happens
let's
too
be
often is-
categorical.
But wait, Roger, let me just say one thing. Wouldn't the success of this meeting really be if Iran got back to us and said, we're in this dialogue. You know what? No, we're not doing it. Or yes, we are doing it. Then at least we know everyone's intentions. He's nodding his head like,
When
yeah.
is
I
I
want-
it-
think
on
no. I
going
think the
before
success of this
LPC.
meeting. I think the success of this meeting as member of the community, and again, this is out of respect to all of your free time, is that we discuss it, and I say to you, I agree with you about the windows. We should replace the windows into 6/6 if that was the historical context. Not to mention it's the same window throughout the apartment, so I think it makes sense. But you agree with me that rebuilding the shutter system at the back is wasteful, unnecessary, and artificial, then we built something together, and you guys can approve it. We did a compromise. You acknowledged our efforts, and we're all coming out of this with something that we've done better for the neighborhood.
Well, Iran, you flipped that on me, so let's end it there. We want the shutters, and I'll write a very favorable resolution otherwise, and thank you all. And Bruce, we're going to get you to your next project, and then
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so
We
much.
have to vote on this?
Thank you.
Oh,
It's
right, we
been
have to vote. We have
motion
to
and
vote, right.
seconded, and we
Right,
need a vote,
right.
right?
Yep. So is everyone in favor of a resolution that says we really want the shutters to be put back to approve this whole big project?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't mean to butt in. That's just what I thought the committee covered. I like their
Yes.
compromise, but I don't think we're going to vote that way. So, but
Well, I just don't see it. I mean, I just, I'll get the last word in there. I don't see it as a Disneyfication if the shutters were ruined in 1920 and someone had the care and it was too far gone ruined, they would have just gotten a new one and put it up. That's what would have happened. They're very simpleton construction things. So I hear about this like, well, we don't want to just put back new things to make them look old. That's not how these functioned over the years. If they could replace them, they did. They patched them. They did this and that. So
Okay.
I'm not. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry I said anything. Let's vote, please.
Okay. So who's in
Was it
favor?
the table to approve?
Yes.
May I-
Yes.
Who's first?
Jason. Oh, who's first?
Who's voting? Who made the motion? Jason, who
I
seconded?
made the motion. Somebody seconded.
Second.
Okay, everyone that's on this screen, it will be 9 in favor.
Yes.
Roll 40 West Broadway.
Okay.
Can I tell you,
Thank you, guys,
Jason,
again.
can I tell you, Jason, one last thing?
Tell me.
The original buildings in Tribeca were not built with fire shutters.
Oh.
Just the way they weren't built with a fire escape. They were.
Listen, I don't want a lesson on. This is like I study historic buildings. Don't come and tell me the original buildings don't have fire shutters. They did, and they did have fire escapes that weren't
We
labeled.
can't do this now. We just
Yeah,
can't.
Let's go.
We can't
Right.
do this now.
No,
Please.
let's
Okay.
go. You
Right.
can't have the last
Bye.
word.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Aaron.
I'm going to jump right in because I can't even stay for the presentation. I can't believe what I did here, but I just made an obligation to the presenter, to whom I was very rough at the first meeting, ideologically, that I would make a statement here because no one else was here while he was there, and we were there together for an hour in the snow and the rain. So let me proceed, please, that he was...
Is that Ann,
I'm sorry.
before you go on? And are you the presenter for 140 West Broadway?
Yes, I am. I'm trying to get my camera to work. Hopefully you can hear me.
Go ahead, Bruce.
The original presentation was based on, you know, an engineer's report. The building had gotten, unbeknownst to me, violations, and it's a riot. They got violations for an existing condition that they themselves created on Hudson Street. The DOT did exactly what they put a violation out on this owner for doing, which is crazy, typical of DOT. And there are outstanding violations. And this, the architect here was completely open to doing whatever was plausible. And I've walked down that block for 33 years, very frequently, but I hadn't walked down it in the last 2 or 3 months. And I must say, the material decay is in some places very surprising, and it happened recently. I mean, there are chunks of concrete and granite that are just gone in jagged pieces. So he has now proposed, having listened to the community board, taking the giant, beautiful historic granite slabs, removing them, rebuilding the vault underneath, which needs to be done, and flipping them, which has been done before. so that there would be the original granite slabs, smooth though, because obviously the underside has been unperturbed for a century, and it's not only the same material, it's the same slab, and it has a natural sort of a built-in curb. The slabs that exist, that surface was interestingly cut at an angle, which is very unusual because the street was so narrow, so carts could get to the loading docks. They have no curbs, but that's okay. There are plenty of places with stone slabs that have no curbs, but they do have rises at the end, and in a lot of places that's destroyed on these sidewalks. So he can go into other details. I thought his other proposals were fair. He's willing to keep the stone step that we wanted, but I think keeping the original material, flipping the actual granite slabs, it's a good idea, and he's restoring the vault lights. Okay, nice seeing everybody. Bye.
Bruce, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, so I think just because we saw this before, is there like an existing and proposed slide of the plan that kind of gives a nice overview of the different replacement sections?
Yeah, as you go to 1A, and my apologies, I can't seem to get my camera to work, so so you can see me talk. But go the other direction, I'm sorry. Down, down, down. And I'll keep going down. Yep, keep going down to the next slide, please. Keep going. Yep, keep going. It's gonna be a few slides down. So this right here is the original plan, but keep going to the proposed, and I'll explain what I was talking to with Bruce at the site about. Keep going. And we can come back to this if we have to. Keep going. Okay, this plan right here. Up, go back up a little bit. Go up a little bit for me. Up a little more to the plan. Keep going. Okay, right there. So, first of all, I want to thank Bruce for his time, for coming out yesterday. It was cold, and I had the owner asked me if I could just read a quick message to all of you, if that's okay, and that he sent to me. And he wanted to say that he's sorry he didn't get a chance to come out yesterday. He's been a proud member of your community for 50 years and was looking forward to meeting all of you. He has a DOT issue, a violation that deems the sidewalk a public hazard. Separately, the DOB has placed a Class 1 immediate hazard on the same sidewalk that we're talking about right now. Ken wrote that I'm very hopeful you will help me in resolving these violations. And that's the owner of the building, who also lives in the building too. And he's been there for the past 50 years. As you can see in this photograph or this plan right here, what we were talking about last time that was controversial, we could say, is the purple area. And we were proposing to replace that, the existing stone, with the stone that matched next door. I heard you, I listened to you, I went and spoke to Ken about it, and I came up with a different solution of how to retaining the stone. Some of the violations, some of the problems with the property right now is, and I get it, it's historical to the fabric of the area, how it angles down, but that angling has caused other issues. So when I met Bruce there, we talked about it, and I said, well, what we can do is we can flip the stone, and when you flip it, because it's a 12-inch thick stone, it's an actual structural stone. So when you go down below the slab, into the vault, you can actually see the existing stone down there. We can then create a curb, natural curb out of it, without having to add a curb even to the stone itself. So the original stone will still be there. We're just going to flip it over and just cut off enough to get that flat look to it. like the rest of the property, and then put it right back into place once again. So, and that was when we spoke last time, if I remember correctly, that was kind of the major issue that we had to address. And when Bruce walked the site with me, he saw that the existing stones are there, the existing stone that's there, it's been pretty broken up along the edge as well. And there's some tripping hazards that go along with that. So our goal is to turn it over, make it smooth, and then put it right back to where it is existing. Any questions or comments?
Can you just say and answer this question, yes or no? Are you decreasing the amount of sidewalk granite in your proposal than what is existing?
No.
Wonderful. Are you increasing it in any way?
Not at the moment.
Okay. So we're putting concrete pavement back where concrete pavement is. We're putting loading docks back where loading docks are. You're reinstating the granite stone on West Broadway, and on West Broadway where there is currently concrete patching, you're putting concrete back.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about those steps up? Didn't we have an issue with you were taking out steps?
Yes, thank you, Jason, about that. Yeah. So I reviewed that with Bruce as well, and it's the steps up to the two storefronts, and you'll see kind of on this plan, you see 3A and 2A. And Bruce said to me, I really like the way they look. Can we keep them? I said, yes, we can definitely keep them. I don't think there's a reason why we have to redo them or rebuild them. They're there and they're functioning just fine.
Okay, so that's not even part of the scope of work. So that's great. I don't have any other questions. It seems like you listened to us.
Well, you know what it is, though, Jason, I find this very important, is that, and it's just like the last gentleman was saying, we're all working together to find the best solution and keep the historical fabric to this community. So I did listen, and I appreciate all your input on it too.
I have a question. Is it Andrew? Sorry.
That's correct. Yes.
In fact, you did not make a change to this plan. This is what you presented to us the last time, right?
So Vicky, I just met with Bruce yesterday afternoon, and I haven't had a chance to update this plan since then.
But all you're saying is that you're going to take line number 5 and reuse the existing granite and just turn it in upside down so that it's flush, so that people are not slipping and sliding.
Correct, 100%.
Right. So I understood this the first time, in case you're wondering, and I was in favor. I think it's great. I would have. You want to flip it? You want to buy new ones? Up to you. If you're going to flip it, terrific. But in essence, this is the plan that we reviewed last time, except for this line in lavender.
Correct.
Thank you. You have my vote.
Jason, may I say something?
Roger, please go.
Yeah. Forgive me, Vicky. I was one of the people who, from being around as long as I have down here, was concerned, and I think the suggestion from Andrew is terrific. I think that solves the problem. What I wish, Andrew, is for you and other applicants to think about these things this way, rather than have us with the last applicant, challenging things, and with your application challenging things, because we're all in it together, like you say. And so if you can pass on this experience to your fellow architects, I think it would be great. But I support this. I just wished you'd come with this without us sort of pressuring you to think about it differently. But I support it. Thank you.
And Roger, I wish you could see my face. I'm not a technical guy. but I am smiling. So thank you for saying that.
Roger, you know, not to be anything other than agreeable here. I have to say that Andrew did point this out. This plan was good. The only problem, Andrew, is that unfortunately, to get clarity, you use two different colors for the same material, which is what threw everyone else off that is not an architect. Otherwise, you didn't change anything. We wouldn't have let you get rid of old granite stones, so we would have come up to a conclusion. It's just the graphics threw everyone off. Do you know what I mean?
All right,
100%.
anybody else?
Yeah, Jason, I've had my hand up.
Okay, go for it.
Get go. And I'm sorry, we've lost the presentation now, but you know, the granites. First off, Andrew, I want to say I regret that I wasn't able to make it yesterday. I had planned on being there. I will say that I've gone by this location at least 2, if not 3 times in the last 2 weeks, and made certain that I stopped and took a look. So, you know, flipping the granite, as far as materials are concerned, I'm in agreement with everybody else. I think it's a wonderful solution that you've found to the problem. I'm not to throw a monkey wrench into the whole solution, but I guess I'm a little surprised that this, you know, we are losing a little bit of the historic, I don't want to say fabric, but maybe the concept of the use. I mean, the curbs were sloped, but they also have a patina from being in use for so many years. I'm not going to make an issue out of that. I think it's great that you've found the solution. But what I did want to bring up was I did look further into DOT's standards with the curb cut and the handicap, the ADA ramp. I'm wondering if you looked into that further. I can say that what I found was that it is preferable. I took notes, but I left them at the office. But it is preferable to have a perpendicular rather than at the corner. There are, I think, 18 or 20 possible interventions that the DOT would entertain. I believe that south of that corner curb cut is a traffic light, and I spoke with one of my engineers at work who had said that it was his belief that those traffic lights, yeah, it's actually, if you had a picture of the entire light,
You have to go the other direction, not down. Go up, please.
Yeah,
go up.
bottom to top.
Yeah. Keep going up a little more. We'll get there in a second. Keep going. And keep going. Well, right there.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, thank you.
Right there. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So contrary to what's on the, and we don't have to find the other picture, but contrary to what's on the other block, which is an arching, starts at the sidewalk and arches out over the roadway. This one, from what I understand, has a very small foundation. And it appears that since you're already moving, replacing the concrete there, that it would be possible to move this traffic light possibly 3 feet maybe to the south. There is a manhole, and from what I understand, when there's a drain in the middle, in the curb, that means that the manhole does extend back. But it was the general belief, just looking from Google, which has a similar picture to this. In fact, this may be from Google, I don't know, but it was the general belief that this traffic light possibly could be moved 2 to 3 feet out of the out of that path of the perpendicular path of the crosswalk, and with minimal expense and all the rest. Is that something that could be looked into with DOT in order to be able to get the ideal situation, which would be a perpendicular to the crosswalk perpendicular, two rather perpendicular ADA ramps.
So I honestly don't have the correct answer for that because I've never actually moved a traffic light before with the DOT. So that's something we'd have to look into. So it's a question I really don't have an answer for. I've never actually moved one in my life.
Well, again, I don't want to make this onerous on the owner in any way whatsoever, but I do think that it should be something that should be looked at specifically since the sidewalks are being replaced.
Well, let me turn it this way for a different way for a second, okay? Your position is that you would like to have two entry points from the sidewalk, ADA entry points, is really the essence of this, okay? How we get there, yeah. So if we can get there, you would like us to attempt to do that. How we get there, that's on us to figure it out. And if something doesn't work, then I will let you know. But it's on me to try to figure out how to make that work and get two entry points. So on the right-hand side, this is a great picture for this. On the right-hand side, I have the granite there, the existing granite, and we can grind that down so it can flatten out to the white stripes on the crosswalk on the right. Okay, that's not so tough. And you're right. The tough part here is you got a traffic light and a trash can. We can move that, but we got a traffic light kind of like right where you don't want it. So it's the right-hand side, not so much an issue. It's the left-hand side. How do I make that work? And I'll see what I can do. That's the best I can do is, ask the questions and find out.
That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make sure that we, as much as we're here for landmarks, I also just want to make sure that all the residents and the users of these spaces are being served.
So
Right.
I would just like to say thank you to the architect. I think he's been really done terrifically. And I would like to call the question, if I may, Jason.
I'd like to second that.
I think there's other
Oh,
hands up.
okay. I'm not good at the
Jason.
hands, so I
I'm
don't know how
sorry.
to see that.
I
But
didn't
whoever wants to speak, please.
Yeah, Tom.
Hey, Vicky. Yeah, this is Jetta. So I'm really glad that Gerald brought up the point of two entry points. I think that would be very user friendly if that could be created. My other question was just I wanted to know if the new treatment that's being described, if it will eliminate the slip and fall hazards and if it will make the sidewalks safe and safe for walking on and will be sufficient to eliminate the violations.
Our intent is to do exactly that, is to make it safe to walk on as well as eliminate the violations with the city.
Thank you.
Are there any other hands up there?
I
Anybody?
don't see any.
Bueller? Okay, so we're gonna call the question.
I
Okay.
second.
I believe
Susan
it was,
seconded it.
who else?
Susan had seconded it.
Okay. The remaining 8 people is all in favor. Any opposed? Any abstain? Any recusal? Motion passes.
And I just want to say my yes is contingent on that this ADA requirement is met. So please have that in the resolution, Jason.
I shall. Okay,
Thanks.
so I wanted to just make another point, as someone who's been doing this a long time and on this particular board, something I've personally noticed and I'm hoping we can find a fix for, because I think it's unusual, and that is the participation of our community in any of these meetings. I mean, we never hear from the community anymore in these meetings. I can't even tell you if maybe 1 or 2 people show up. I think it has a lot to do with the virtual scenario. we used to hear from people on the blocks of these projects, and we no longer do. So maybe later we'll all figure out how to get the community engaged, because it's not about us 8 people, frankly, so much. And it used to be better when we had some more input. And it just doesn't.
Just a little
Yeah.
historic perspective on it, Jason. One of the things that we used to ask applicants to do was to post on lampposts and stuff, because we're all very busy. We all have our social feeds now. And when people understood that something was coming up in their neighborhood because it was on their dog walk or their walk, people would show up. And maybe we need to go back to old school conventions like that.
No, I think, wait, Roger, isn't that a landmark LPC requirement? That when you do have a hearing, that you notify everyone? I think that's a requirement. So did these folks?
It is, but I think it's a requirement digitally, Susan, and we're all digitally busy. Anyway, Susan's got a hand up saying she's got to go for dinner.
Oh, I just want to say we do it for licensing and we make the applicant do it. And I think going forward, we should see that at least we try that, Jason, is one part of it, okay? That they post.
But
Yeah.
that's what I say, that's what I'm saying. It's a requirement that LPC puts on the owner or the applicant. So the question is, did the applicant put a notice up? It's a
Actually,
requirement. They're supposed to do it.
I'm not sure about that, Vicky. Honestly, I think.
I am about 80% sure.
Okay, well,
We can check.
we should check then with our correspondent there, and then if it is a requirement, obviously we should initiate it.
Yeah.
And Andrew has his hand up. So
Yeah, I'm
speak,
sorry,
Andrew.
am I still supposed to be on this call or not?
Oh,
That's
you're
what I'm
good,
asking.
Andrew. Thank you. Thank you. Please
But can I
dismiss
just
yourself.
Can I just quickly say, I'm on a board of directors for my high school. I give my time to my high school, and I know how much it takes people to have to do something like this. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I really do appreciate it.
Thank
Have
you,
a nice
Andrew.
evening.
Oh,
You
that's
too.
nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, no, Jason, I'm almost sure that every applicant has to notify the community of the upcoming event. And in my opinion, it should be easier if you are, joining remotely. So I don't know why no one came. But like I said, I'm almost sure. I mean, geez, I haven't, thought about this. I just do it automatically. So I haven't really thought. I'll look into it and I'll email you. But I think you do have to do it as the applicant.
Okay, I mean, I'm not the only person who's noticed that the lack of the.
No, you're
right?
not.
Okay.
You're right. Yeah, something's
Okay.
gone away.
Okay, so we'll address that, and then we're not going to do this other item about the budget, right? Roger or anybody? That wasn't even on the agenda.
No, you have
No, it
commissioners.
wasn't. No, it wasn't the budget. I proposed
Right.
2 very short, but if we're all tired, we could
No, it's
defer
not
it to
even
next
quarter,
meeting.
it's not even 8. We can do it, can we, Jason? For a few minutes and discuss the,
I'm fine for it. Yeah, we can do it.
Okay, so I will be very brief. But having been as involved as I have for the 20 odd years I've been involved, I am distressed that what happened at 250 Water Street was, in my mind, a political action of the mayor and his office. And I'm distressed to see that now we have a new mayor, Mayor Adams, that he is not acting quickly to do 2 things. One is to appoint LPC commissioners to an appointment. The reason 250 Water Street got approved, in my opinion, was that most of the commissioners were lackeys. They were there they were there without official appointment, so they had no ability to be at all independent. And we all sat through 4 hearings on 250 Water Street, and we saw commissioner after commissioner worried about being terminated by the mayor because they had no term. So I propose 2 things. So we say to Mayor Adams, you have got to appoint terms or new commissioners with terms. And so you give away some of your control. Secondly, Mayor Adams, since I proposed this particular issue, Mayor Adams has come out and said the Landmarks Commission is bloated and needs a 20% cut in its budget. The Landmarks Commission is the smallest budget, I think, in the entire city. And to cut another 20% from what is an already bare bones commission is just ridiculous. We saw tonight, just to nail home the point, we saw tonight that these applicants are coming before us saying, well, we're not going to show you the front restoration. We're not going to show you this. We're not going because it's all approved at staff. And this is ridiculous. We are losing our neighborhoods because the commission hasn't got a budget to do the work it should do. And the mayor is, rallying around what he wants as his commitments. So my proposal is to write a very strong resolution to say, Mayor Adams, you need to appoint commissioners for their 8-year term now and not have them hanging on. And second of all, you should recognize that a couple of $1 million, I think it's less than that, in the 28 whatever billion dollar New York City budget is insignificant. Do not apply your 20% cut to the LPC. Thank you, Jason.
Oh, I have a question, Roger. Are these commissioners paid?
No,
No.
they're not paid. They're appointed by the mayor. And a
And
lot of them
so-
have been there since I was basically born. is
I know.
Roger's point.
So it's kind of a crown in the jewel, right? Like if you sit on the commission, you just hold a lot of influence, right?
Yeah, I think the thing is that we're getting all the same influence that we've seen for
Right.
really like 20 years. I mean,
I
Bob
agree with you.
Bob Tierney, who in fact even came out in support of
Term
250 Water
limits.
Street. No, he came out to support 250 Water Street, which was the most weird thing ever, and makes you wonder why he would ever do that. Cha-ching. But since he left, and then we had, I forget her name, but I know
Sarah.
Sarah's been there like 40 years, so we're not getting any sort of like turnover here, and so we get a lot of the same opinions, and I mean that's my take on it.
I think we should do it, and I would ask that Roger, who's very good with the pen, and Jason, and we can all look at it. But I think we should do it. I think it's absolutely within our purview, and I think it should be done because I think it's sometimes it's disgraceful.
Yes, I agree.
Really. So I would say go for it, please.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll write something up. Gerald, were you raising your hand or were you just high-fiving us?
No, sorry. I was trying to give a thumbs up to that, but
Testing.
I
Okay.
think they've changed the emoji thing again. So
Okay, so we'll Roger, you're gonna do a little something and we can work on it too together if you wish, and then present it to everybody. Okay,
Yeah.
great. And I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let
do the
me
other two
let me
resolutions.
draft something and I'll share it with Jason and Vicky, and I
Great.
I thank you for the support.
Okay,
Yeah, let's all bounce it back and forth. Everyone's input. Yeah.
thank you.
It was
Okay, don't leave before you. No,
No.
you called it, Susan. It was you, and then I think everyone else said yes. So you're not bringing the budget cut. You're going to combine it with this resolution, budget cut and commissioner terms, Roger?
No, I think we should do two separate resolutions,
Right.
Lucy. I'm sorry, because
No,
they're different issues. Yeah.
Okay, so two separate resolutions, and we have a quorum of 8. If anyone opposed, anyone abstain, any recusals, so there'll be 2 new business resolutions.
Great. Thanks.
Not new
Okay,
business, but
guys.
business tonight. Sorry.
All right. Can we go
Well, we
home?
just want to congratulate you on your marriage, Lucy.
Oh yeah, congratulations,
Same here.
Lucy.
Right.
Thank you once again, everyone.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Well,
Yes,
that's
yes,
for
yes.
100 years. He
And
was
I just want to say, as one of the oldest standing chairs of the Landmarks Committee, you and your husband must come for dinner with the Landmarks Committee first.
We will.
Thank
Yes.
you, Luz.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, all.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
Close. Good night.